Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Wake Up Missoula. I am your host, Scott Ramp, and I'm here to usher you into the weekend. It is July 15th. There's a lot of events going on, a lot of other things going on as well. We got our summer camps happening this week, next week, and the week after. There's still plenty of room available. If you have any last-minute signups, you can find those camps that are filling up across Missoula, but haven't heard about some of MCAT's camps within the library, so you guys can check that out. You can go to mcat.org for more information about that. So let's kick things off. Let's jump right into news. One of the big things that are happening just the last week is Sri Lanka. The country has been destabilized just last week with starving citizens storming the president's palace in Colombo. At the president's palace in the capital of Sri Lanka, what came to the shock of the world, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, sorry if I mispronounced that, fled Sri Lanka, the island neighbor country to India. Protesters stormed the palace and have since occupied it. And so far, the protesters have really put on the pressure, which asking for the president's resignation, and got the prime minister's to resign via tweet. And then, of course, Thursday, just as I was reading more about this, is that the president officially resigned his post as presidency in Singapore, where he was asked if he was seeking asylum, and he said no, this would be a personal visit according to what he said. All right, in another story, there's a lot of stories going on here. I'm going to try to go through them as fast as possible. Another story continues following the Uvalde police with their inaction during the Robb Elementary shooting that killed 19 children and teachers. So far, the story was unfolding, and the police of Uvalde were saving face. Even the mayor's position in Uvalde, which has been protecting their police, and also closing off city council for local reporters and more. A video leaked, and it showed the video of the shooter walking into the school via security camera, followed by police standing around for more than 70 minutes while the shooter and possible victims could have been saved. In other news, something that gets my goat, puppy mills. So animal rescue groups were saved over 4,000 beagle canines in the Virginia Research Center. When I hear research, you automatically assume that they are doing experiments on them, and you are correct, they were. The Humane Society of the United States is working with the U.S. Justice Department and spearheading the effort to transfer these dogs from their current home to shelters in a matter of weeks. These dogs were bred by the in Vigo facility to be used for pharmaceutical research and services. Overall, this story showed the malnourished animals, which prompted groups to get involved. At least 2 inspections report revealed the facility performed unnecessary painful medical procedures on dogs and puppies, including euthanasia without sedatives. That's according to the report from Mark Warner and Tim Kaine of Virginia, who publicized these reports this year. So far, after many of these experiments and conditions, many of these dogs have medical bills anywhere between $200 and $700 before they are adoption ready, if they don't have any other behavioral problems from this. Full story on NPR. Let's go more local. Montana Passenger Rail is picking up some steam at the state level, pun intended. The Missoula Department of Transportation has joined with the Big Sky Rail, along with other communities banded together from communities built across Montana cities. On top of all that, we've gotten support from state legislature and Senator John Tester with John Wicker from Mississippi, sponsored the language directing the U.S. Department of Transportation to complete a nationwide study of discontinued long-distance routes such as the North Coast Hawartha. The next step, according to the article of the Missoula Current, is the Greater Northwest Passenger Rail Summit next month. Let me say that again. The Greater Northwest Passenger Rail Summit next month. The Missoula contact for the passenger rail is the County Commissioner Dave Strohmeyer, who wanted to bring back Amtrak to Montana and has opened these big can of worms when it comes to passenger rail across the United States. So good luck, fellas. Up next, we have a special video from our week of camp. So without further ado, here is Hide and Die.
Ah! I'm bored. Do you want to play something?
Sure. What do you want to play?
Tic-tac-toe.
How about hide and seek? But if you die in the game,
you die in the game.
Okay. But also in real life, there's no going back. You've already made your decision.
How will we decide who will be the seeker first?
Rock, paper, scissors.
Okay. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
I'll throw rock. It'll mess him up. I don't think he's gonna choose rock.
I've calculated every move for the past 24 hours, and I know he's going rock. So, to throw him off, I'll also go rock, because I am superior!
Dang it, he knew I was gonna choose rock!
My victory was already predestined. I know he's throwing paper, so I'll throw scissors! You have 30 seconds. 1. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Ready or not, here I go.
Anything that you move, I've already memorized from my background. This library is my domain.
Those videos were completely fictitious. Don't take them too seriously. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about some movies that are coming out this week. And it's time for Dubbin' Stuff. As you guys are probably aware that there are other movies that are playing out there besides Marvel movies. What? Why? So this is where I prejudge movies, whether they need it or not. And kicking things off is, I got to get this ready. Whoever was on this computer before me should die. All right, up next, kicking things off, we got this movie. It's right here. Let me look at my notes. It's called Where Crawdads Sing. It's probably based on a book. It's definitely based on a book, which follows a young girl on the run from being framed for murder. Basically sounds like one of those movies that you'd see on Lifetime. She did the thing with the victim, and since then she's been attached to the man forever and has to deal with the court of public opinion because why bother go through the justice system? Anyways, enjoy a long-winded drama about a gal in jail while more interesting thing happens outside in the town through the eyes of the people and police trying to solve this case. But time is money, and they'd probably just pin it on this gal who may have actually done it in the end because otherwise, it's just a Lifetime original movie. Up next, we got Paws of Fury, Legend of Hank. Hey, if you want to bring your kids over to an animated movie, they got a lot of stars who apparently had too much free time on their hands. Enjoy an Underachievers animated film that stars a long list of A-list celebrities that had too much time on their hand during the pandemic to pass on this family flick trying to be Kung Fu Panda. Watch as Hank, an anamorphic dog person, trains to become a dragon warrior or whatever. Samuel L. Jackson leads his voice along with Ricky Gervais and Michael Cera. George Takei, you get it. From what I understand, these run-of-the-mill stories is that Hank, the protagonist, stays with me, trains and joins a group of misfits to take on the evil bad person to free the country from tyranny. And in credits. Moving on, Mrs. Harris goes to Paris. Welcome to the nightmare escape that is Eat, Pray, Love universe of women going on vacation to find themselves. Find yourself bored at a weird title rhyme scheme that catches the eye for a story about a widowed woman trying to buy a dress, like a 1950s model, so that she can go to Paris, buy the dress, the end. And of course, you probably have some personal growth and experience and stuff like that. But anyways, shop till you drop, and Paris is the place to spend on clothes that are too small for Americans. Something tells me the dress only sets her up to find love and adventure in Paris. Older women getting their second stride in the 1950s, where divorce only existed in the form of death. All right, anyways, those are the movies that are coming out this weekend. Definitely a lot to look forward to. All right, so moving on, we got a brand new dub and stuff from a old 1930s Hitchcock film called Young and Innocent.
Nothing like a single lady right by the side of the road. Right, pup? Why would I need anything to protect myself? That's ridiculous. Still won't start. Come on now. That's weird.
You look like you could use a boyfriend.
You better watch your back, I'm dangerous. You better not mess with me, I got weapons.
Oh wow, you really went for the nuclear option, didn't you? Well, my name is Pat.
Well, just Pat. I'm just, going on the road, minding my own business, and then you decided to harass me and whatnot.
Well, I am pushing your car down the road.
Yes, downhill.
I know of a gas station just down the road as well.
Thank you for that information. I will be glad to go gas up my car by myself, and you can go on a hike and maybe find some other
You seem young and innocent. Is there anything I can do to help you?
Hold on a minute.
Well, gas is cheap down the road.
I'm in.
Outsiders. I don't like the looks of them. I'm coming. Let me just enjoy this cheese.
Hello, sir. I would like some petrol, please.
Hey, Eugene, get on out of here. This lady wants some what?
I think it's called gasoline, petroleum, whatever fills up the car.
Want to hear the story of how I got this cheese? It's a really funny story. Well, my neighbor was asking for some money, and I was just like, oh, well, you can pay me in cheese. Riveting story.
Help, drama.
All right, I'll get your soapbox.
Well, it's actually an apple box. Thank you, sir.
Oh, she wasn't even watching me do this kind deed for that kid? Well, perhaps maybe I can pay. Well, I guess. Money is still money.
Paying for my gas is really cool of you.
Perhaps you can give me a ride with the gas that I paid for? Well, it seems like that guy got you in that catch-22. Shut up and eat your cheese. Gladly. Well, who knew gasoline would get this car to start? Well, most everyone, actually. Thanks for passing through Wisconsin, home of the cheese. And remember, if you ain't a cheesehead, you might as well be dead. Now, goodbye. Goodbye. Get out of here. Okay, I guess... You'll be on your way. Now, see you later. Cheese. Well, I'm sorry to put you in this particular predicament. Perhaps at the next gas station, I will, leave.
No. I don't think so, man.
Excuse me? Perhaps I'll ask for a refund.
Fine, let's go.
Are we there
no.
yet? Can you turn on the radio?
Shut
Come
up.
on.
You got to have a little fun to help pass the time. Let's move on right over down to some city council. Kicking things off, we have a little bit of information from your general city council meeting. From last Saturday to tomorrow, the city read a proclamation highlighting the dangers of forest fires and how we can stay on top of the fire season. This proclamation was to urge citizens in and around Missoula to take stewardship of our public land seriously when lighting up a campfire, discharging cigarette butts, and now with cannabis being a big deal in Missoula, be aware of the potential harm lighting up in the forests. While many of you see a bunch of trees, many folks who have lived through many fire seasons in Missoula and around Montana see kindling. So take time, and if you can refuse lighting up in any way during the high fire danger and dry seasons, please do so. All right, moving on. Many things are happening within the city of Missoula as well. The annexation and rezoning are common in a growing town like ours, and they did a final consideration of the Fairway View in Missoula's Lower Miller Creek area, and the folks also complained about an ever-growing traffic risks in the area, regardless of the potential development that may occur. They voted to move this forward for their final consideration. This was their final vote to make this solidified in the rezoning. So the next step is the development options and looking through that as well. And I know that the city has some kind of adoption rezoning plan along with the developer to help improve some of the access to these roads as well. So that's one of the net gains that the city got from this rezoning as well. So state law updated. The city of Missoula will tackle land use regulations to match with state law. They also brought this up in a later meeting, which I'll get to in a bit. So first and foremost, I did want to talk a little bit about climate conservation and parks. This is a big deal because I'm sure if you were watching some of the city council, because I know you're good Missoulians, I noticed that one of the things, a couple of public comments were very concerned about a Front Street development near Kiwanis Park. And part of this is the climate conservation in parks is the Parks and Rec is doing an easement. So developers can basically exchange a 12-unit housing complex for a 21-unit housing complex. And David Selvig of Park Services and System Superintendent talks a little bit more about the site plan and gives a nice example of this.
The proposal is a request for an emergency egress easement meeting building code for redevelopment of a 2-lot parcel adjoining Kiwanis Park. On the screen, there were 3 options available. The park board recommends the smallest option, which is option C. To roughly an area of 855 square feet. This easement requires no physical improvements to the park, but only that the space be made available so that that residents in the event of an emergency can exit the building safely and get to a gathering spot, which would be in the park. Here's the adopted park master plan of record. The easement would be in this location here. There's no material impact on the park or on its deed restrictions. The proposed development would look something like this.
All right, so if you guys take a look closely, and he kind of goes through it a little bit more, but a big chunk of this is to also help mitigate the view. So part of this is not necessarily the view for from the apartments, but the view towards the apartments and the park as a whole. Parks and Rec are very invested in trying to improve the kind of like the entranceway, the corridor, the trails, and to kind of like have a more of a solid pathway to Kiwanis Park rather than some of the area that they have currently. So they're trying to work on better wayfinding tools to improve this, 3 and 4 stories, tops, and since they want to create a barrier to utilize city and parks to reduce out-of-sight places for crime reduction. David Selvig continues to talk about access to Kiwanis as on top of the security measures as well.
This is sort of unique. The normal place for access to the park here would be on the Front Street access, and that's where we would encourage and want everybody to access this park. This section here has some challenges with crime prevention, and the project would, with the conditions on the easement, would address most of those, make sure that there's visibility and things like that. So regulating this access is not out of the question. For multifamily units, we usually try to limit those so there's not a lot of conflict or wear patterns. Just happens to be unique here, where we really wouldn't want to encourage residents of 21 units to use basically create a trail.
Okay, so that was essentially the plan moving forward with this. And throughout the meeting, one of the bigger concerns, especially brought up by City Council member Daniel Carlino, is worried about the current residents who have to vacate the property as they're adding more units to the property. So you're combating housing. So his logic is basically you're combating housing by basically getting rid of the few tenants to make room for large amounts of units and dwelling units, while at the same time it's going to take 2-3 years for the development even to finish and be able to have that. And by then the people who are displaced, what are they going to do? So that's one of the big things that Daniel Carlino is going into this quote I'm going to show you.
Although we can't control private property rights, what we can control is, density, easements, things like that. And when the 12 renters have nowhere to go in town right now, and the vacancy rates, been below 1% for quite some time. Sometimes I think we need to be creative in finding solutions to follow our housing policy that says that we should preserve current affordable rentals. And I think giving these, I think the financial incentive would not be there to gentrify these currently affordable homes if there was no easement granted that would allow for the density. So I think we do have power as a council to say that we have to allow all development is not correct. Not saying that anybody's saying that, but I just believe that, sometimes we have to be creative in our solutions. And I think not granting the easement today would be to at least show some solidarity with the current renters, that we're not here to just vote for things that allow gentrification left and right.
All right, so that was a big thing that Daniel Carlino was talking about moving forward. And so far, this is in the committee meetings, and they're going to be talking about this in length in the future meetings. So this isn't a definite thing, but they are moving forward about this. And they spoke briefly about this during City Council, but I wanted to bring it full circle within the city committee meetings where they talked about it in length about the plan and the presentation with David Selvig. At this point, it is just speculation, because if you listen to the presentation, you hear that the site is deed restricted, which requires the rent to stay as low as it builds its new 21-unit complex, along with the added advantage of the easement, which basically means that Parks and Rec, aka the city government, is giving up a partial, just even like a barely outlined area of land, just so they can have some more sway in how they develop the new site. So this is just the beginning of the process, so we'll see how this goes on moving forward. And up next, we're going to talk about some public safety and health. And the Missoula Police Department want to assess their space for $95,000. And this is to comprehensively look into what space they're going to be utilizing, whether that's going to be continuing their City Hall near the Transit Center in downtown Missoula, and determining whether or not the new federal building that the City Council and County Commissioners are working towards going to move into as it gets developed may or may not be a consideration. So here's John Adams talking a little bit more about this.
We knew when we started the project that we needed to look really carefully at MPD's physical plant needs, but the project has taken on added urgency with the upcoming acquisition of the federal building. So to remind you, during due diligence in the federal building, we looked really hard at locating the police department there, and it really doesn't work because of the particular layout of the building and access to fleet. It was not a good fit. So the upshot is that once we rehab the federal building, we'll move everyone out of City Hall except MPD. And we'll then need to make choices about what to do with this property. So part of figuring out what we want to do with City Hall is determining whether MPD should be there or elsewhere. So we proposed a contract with local firm A&E Design to conduct the assessment. A&E in turn has partnered with Architects Design Group, ADG, a nationally prominent law enforcement design firm. So A&E will provide local expertise and boots on the ground, while ADG, having worked on more than 300 law enforcement facilities, will help us understand the particular facility needs of law enforcement agencies and how we can solve for them.
All right, I promise you that wasn't my mic shuffling, it was from the video. All right, moving on. So police department funding primarily goes towards, like payroll, pensions, and a lot of, at many points, even equipment they can get through grants, and more money is available through funding through grants. And they've been able to acquire equipment through the years and whatnot. So a lot of times the money only really goes to a lot of just, personnel and admin from the city base, and then they have to be pretty savvy and clever to find out other funding sources as well. So there's a lot of lack of funding when it comes to a lot of emergency services, especially within an ever-growing city of Missoula. Missoula is in a good place in terms of it, but of course, a couple, not so long ago, the police kind of overextended their hours, and it was an article in the Missoula Current. So that's just one thing to think about moving forward. And also the city will be paying for the 2022 paramedic certification program for the fire department. So they're trying to bolster some more fire department to become EMT trained for their employees and be able to certify folks on this level in a synergy type of way. They spoke about this before, and the city is in favor of continuing this program. So they're going to have at least 2 to 4 new people within this program, and it's going to be putting some money into this. And yeah, so they just briefly, they spoke briefly about this during the meeting, and they supported this moving towards Monday. And so one thing that's also happening in the city of Missoula is how are we going to deal with all these cannabis businesses that are popping up in the city of Missoula. So the city of Missoula is proposing a new Title V, which is going to be looking at an excited code reform. The resulting increase in the number of cannabis businesses and their unique nature, staff are proposing a new business license category for cannabis. And as we're moving into the 2023, so pretty much in exactly a year from now, this will open the door for a lot of just startups and new businesses to start as dispensaries. So Madison Mathias from City Planning talking about some of the changes to the initial plans.
In order to accommodate the resulting increase in the number of cannabis businesses and their unique nature, staff are proposing a new business license category for cannabis. Additionally, staff are proposing the air quality mitigation requirements in order to protect the public health, safety, and welfare of the community, as well as a reorganization of all Title V definitions for improved legibility and an update of outdated process language. So in this presentation, we'll also discuss our findings related to energy conservation regulation and what kind of options the city of Missoula has to work with going forward.
All right, and one of the bigger things is that one of the things that Missoula was very reluctant to move forward with licensing was the energy consumption with the indoor growing operations. And so one of the things is that they wanted to curb energy consumption. You basically have to have a giant greenhouse while you're cultivating a lot of these plants. You have to have a great amount of sunlight, a great amount of power, and also higher temperatures within a building. And we also have the 4 seasons here in Missoula, which during the winter you need to pump out a little extra money for that. So and just heating costs and building costs are a lot of the attributors towards climate change, and just energy consumptions can be pretty grueling on the electric grid just as in general. So a lot of times they have to deal with this and that. So Madison also continues to talk about how the state does not cover or enforce energy regulations. So a lot of times Missoula is kind of out of luck in terms of conserving and trying to mitigate energy consumption within Missoula.
So the state requirement has prevented city staff from moving forward with any energy conservation regulations at this time because the initial proposal would have required energy provisions rather than incentivize them. A memo detailing options for voluntary incentive-based energy regulations has been included with our issued staff report. So despite not moving forward with the energy requirements at this time, revisions to Title V are still necessary in order to create a new business license category and include new cannabis-related definitions.
All right. So, just to give a kind of a heads up is that this is just going to be, there's going to just be more and more dispensaries popping up. But as of right now, the ones that got a fresh start, as the grandfathered in medical marijuana licensing as they transitioned into more of the recreational stuff, per the state law. And just so you know, the city brought up a study that found out cannabis grown operations require a lot of power and light to keep them warm temperature year round. Madison talks about the difference between existing businesses and how to wish to move forward with implementing these new regulations and new business license and how it applies to those who, to basically avoid the whole kind of grandfathered in kind of deal. And when they renew their license, they'll be attributed to this new business license that'll be associated with this. So this is an ongoing thing, and this is what Madison had to say about this.
Staff proposes the creation of a new cannabis business license category. This is because the existing types in Title V are general and office space, retail, wholesale, or warehouse space license. And as cannabis clearly does not fit into the latter definition, it has been processed as a general license in the past. With the new Title 20 requirements around cannabis businesses, planning staff require additional background information to be provided by each business to ensure compliance with zoning. So an entirely new set of requirements, application form, and licensing type has been created to address this need. The information we'd request would include many similar criteria as the general business license, with the addition of canopy area, approved tier size, previous use, and some other specifics.
Okay, so they went into this a little bit deeper into this meeting as well, but I'm just going to kind of leave you the cliff notes in which you can go check this out yourself by going on to ci.missoula.mt.us. Again, that website is ci.missoula.mt.us. I am running out of time because our summer camps will be starting up pretty soon, so I'm going to show you a nice fun video for you guys featuring, you guessed it, no you didn't, Nature Guy.
All rise for the Honorable Judge, Nature Guy.
You may be seated. Defense, please rise to make your case.
Donald Picklebottom is not guilty.
Allegedly.
Thank you, defense. Prosecution.
Move it! They are guilty of
Mr. Pickleman littered on my property. Here is some clear evidence of it. I, Mr. Picklebottom, littered on your property for no reason.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Yes, bailiff.
Can I go?
Well, did you recycle?
Yes.
All right, I'll allow it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
No! I don't care if it's Pickleman or Pickle Girl. They should be in jail.
There will be order in my court.
Don't act sad, Mr. Picklebottom or Mrs.
I call Picklebottom to the stand.
This guy's good. You should get up there. Come on.
Tell us what happened when you supposedly litter on his property.
Well, first, I was in my house. Then I walked out of my house. Then I walked past his yard. That's it.
The prosecution rests, because I'm bored of this.
Yes, 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 yes.
$5 because of that.
Defense, would you like to go up there and state your case?
No.
Really?
Yes.
It's kind of your job. What are you getting paid for?
Bills.
All right, well, it looks like the proceedings are done, and I'll go to think of a verdict.
We're gonna win.
No, we're gonna win.
No, we are.
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 We are. We are. We are.
We are.
I have come to a verdict, and you all are guilty.
It was I. I littered on his property.
I also did it, but I took the money.
I'm the only one innocent.
And the punishment is death.
I'm not even a real lawyer.
How many people littered on my property? I lost $10 million!
Don't do the crime if you can't do the die.
I always feel like all the Nature Guy movies end the kind of like the same way, in a very Twilight Zone kind of instance. But regardless of that, that is actually the 5th Nature Guy movie that I think MCAT has made over the last like 5 years or so. So anyways, yeah, that's kind of what's happening there, and you guys can see all those videos and more later tonight. With all the compilations of all the kids' videos that were made this week through the AM and PM camp, because we doubled down with our camps this year. And yeah, so that, once again, if you have a kid that's interested in making these kind of movies, you can, they must be around 8 to 14 years of age, have some basic knowledge of computers and how they work. Other than that, they're pretty much set to go, and it's a nice introduction into movie making and video editing. So without further ado, let's talk about some events, things that are happening within the city of Missoula, and also let's narrow it down through the Missoula Public Library is hosting a series of camps through their partners, and the regular scheduled programs will continue with Tanning Tales and Storytime at 10:30 a.m. at the main branch at Missoula's 455 East Main Street, Yarns and Watercolor at noon on the 4th floor. Spectrum Discovery is going to be open to the public from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can also check out Families First Living Lab. There's a lot of other great stuff happening here in town as well with the Missoula Food Bank meals distribution. Missoula Food Bank is also hosting a Kids Eat Free for the summer, and this is part of this is going to be at the Missoula Public Library. I believe they do this at the Art Box starting at 11:30 to about 12:30, 1 o'clock. But they also have it at their main branch, which is it's at the Missoula Food Bank, which their hours are Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. with Wednesdays and Fridays, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. They don't discriminate. It's a great way for emergency food services are available for anyone and everyone, and getting food is free, simple, and confidential. Please wear a mask and come through the front doors of our food bank at 1720 Wyoming Street during the food distribution hours. They do not ask for identification, proof of income, or proof of being laid off from a job. They do not ask if you are a previous customer of the food bank, and they will not turn anyone away. Food is a basic human right, and anyone and everyone are welcome through our doors of the emergency food for you and your family. So that's something that's continuing on well, and I always like to gear it down and let people know moving forward. So one thing that's also happening pretty much all summer long is that the U-Dash, there's buses that go through the university. It's mostly meant for a lot of transportation for college kids between classes and also to downtown and basic services. They are hosting a River shuttle service. So this is sponsored by U-Dash at the UC. So if you like floating, and would you like to get a free ride to the top of Clark Fork River, kind of near Bonner in East Missoula, basically Thursdays through Sunday from noon to about 6, starting July 7th and ending Sunday, August 28th. The shuttles depart each hour, every hour, starting at noon with the last departure at 6 p.m. And you just get a float down the river. They take you with your tube, boom, that's it. It's a nice shuttle service they're going to be doing all summer long. traffic signal art box call. So the City of Missoula Public Art Committee invites people and artists to apply for the public art project to create traffic signal boxes. Hey, if you've ever been around Missoula and seen a traffic signal box and you're like, oh, they painted a nice mural on that, you can do that too. All you got to do is get in contact with them with publicartmissoula.org, and you can find out all the information that you need about this. And if you're interested in going out and about with your family and you want to have a sober family night, the Phoenix Missoula is hosting, the nonprofit that promotes sobriety is promoting family night at Pineview Park. And it is available for anyone free of charge for anyone who has had 48 hours of continuous sobriety and their allies. So moving forward with that. Also, if you're interested in going out and about, the Jack Salon is doing some karaoke at 7 p.m. tonight. Goddess Temple is going to be at Sacred Alley, so if you're going to want to go to church, you can do that. The Grey Goo, Sticky Stone to Death, it's a music rock band, is going to be at Monk's Bar. Mudsize Charlie is going to be a miscellaneous kind of jam band at the Union Club. You can check that out, and that's all happening on Friday night. If you're interested in going out and about, they're doing a Buffalo Run at the Gamble's Hardware at 7 a.m. at the St. Luke Community Healthcare. The Buffalo Run is traditionally part of the Good Old Days weekend in St. Ignatius, Montana, a weekend filled with fun and family activities starting at 7 a.m. There's a 1 mile, 4 mile, and 7 mile events started promptly at 8 a.m. All races begin at 112 North Main Street in St. Ignatius, Missoula. Farmers Market in Missoula, if you don't want to go out of town, you guys can check out the Downtown Farmers Market, which is happening at the Red X's, basically all downtown, but by the Carousel, and also Thomas Marbar, where they have the People's Market. And this happens from 8 a.m. to about 2 p.m. Community Science, Barcoding U.S. Ants Field Day. If you like science and all sorts of stuff, the Rock Creek Conflux is doing a short day. It does cost money to be a part of this, and spots fill up quickly because there's only about 10 spots available. Part of this is the Cold Springs Harbor Laboratory DNA Learning Center is on an exciting nationwide community science project, U.S. Ants. The project aims to engage community members in the science of DNA barcoding while identifying and mapping this ant species throughout the United States. Check it out. And you can find out more information and register through MissoulaEvents.net. Landowner Stewardship Fair. This is going to be at Swan Valley Community Hall. Learn about the local resources available to landowners. This is going to be at 11 a.m. at Swan Valley Community Hall. And those who share tips about everything from living with wildlife to invasive weed management to conservation easements and more. So this is usually for folks who, like, Swan Valley Community Center is like those kind of places, Seeley Lake, and, mostly geared towards helping people like live within the wild. It's like, oh, there's a bear here. I don't know there's a bear. It's like, yes, there are bears in Montana, but it's like you have these smaller communities where wildlife is a little bit more prevalent than urban areas as well. So you can learn about the more local resources available to landowners, organizations, nonprofits, and agency partners as well. So this is going to be happening from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. and food and drinks will be available. And hey, if you're interested in doing some D&D, it seems to be having a big, huge trend becoming more mainstream. You guys can start that at the Missoula Public Library starting at 3 on Saturday. Drink and Debate Comedy Show. This is a kind of like a touring group that brings comedy, and they do a drink and debate comedy show down at the Old Beck VFW. They're going to be hosting it at VFW, and it features comedy clubs across America and is now coming to Montana for one night only. So that's going to be cool. And speaking of what's happening on Saturday night, the continuation of the Missoula Northside Outdoor Cinema. This time they're featuring Dr. Strangelove. Enjoy an outdoor movie, bring a chair, blanket, or simply watch a movie about nuclear war. All donations welcome to continue this and many fun things that the Northside neighborhood is all about. And also, I wanted to mention that something's happening also at McCormick Park on Sunday. Stand-up paddleboard race down the Clark Fork River ending at McCormick Park, award ceremony, and more. So basically, it's the standing boards. You see people on the Clark Fork River on Sunday. This is what they're all about, and they're going to be at McCormick Park at 10 a.m. And also happening at the Public Library on Sunday, in case you missed it, is the road trip reading / introduction to a project 1 by 1000. This is going to be part of Reading from the Brook Road Trip Project 1 by 1000 Volume 1, an introduction to philosophy, community, and website of Project 1000. So they keep on saying 1000. This is going to be a great thing, and it's going to be a Q&A with writers, educators, community groups, and social justice causes. So you guys can check that out. Happening 3 p.m. in the afternoon on Sunday here at the public library. So I am running out of time, and I wanted to thank you guys for joining me this morning. We got some camps going on, and for Wake Up Missoula, I'm Scott Ramph.